and just to even expand even further on this, so a lot of the feedback we get many times, even to now, is, well, I don't want to register. This just sounds way too complicated. I got to give brands and campaigns and all this stuff. You know what? I did see that I'm being charged more money, maybe 4x or 3x, whatever it is, from being unregistered. You know what? At this point, it's my core business. I'm okay with that as long as the messages still get through. And what's kind of even coaxed or allowed for that to happen is there are some, we'll call them aggregators, that still allow unregistered traffic. Some don't, some cut it off completely from their end. And so therefore you can't send the message at all unless you're registered. But there are still many, meaning aggregator or providers or DCAs, that still allow unregistered traffic through. And so what would you say to a business that currently is using a provider that's still allowing you to send unregistered traffic, and you're okay with saying, look, I don't mind paying whatever it is, 4x fees, it's worth it for me to send this? What would the campaign registry say to such a business on why they should still go ahead and what the benefit for them in registering would be?
Registering means that you take away a little bit of the unknown from your messaging termination rates, as in the termination rate you get for terminating messaging into the carriers' networks. When you're running unregistered, and you're right, you can run unregistered. There's nothing preventing you from running unregistered. There are fewer and fewer avenues that will allow you to do that. There are more and more DCAs, or direct connect aggregators, another acronym, but there are many DCAs that, you're right, do not accept that kind of traffic anymore, because they see it as more of a liability and a risk that they are willing to take, because it affects their potential connection that they have to the carriers. And why would you increase your liability at potentially having that connection questioned by the carriers if you're suddenly sending huge amounts of unregistered traffic? That aside, when you're looking at the traffic that you're doing, and if you're still getting the same termination rates that you were before 10DLC was initiated, and in some cases, you could go on for another year and still continue to get your traffic terminated in a fashion that works for you. Maybe you get a few things blocked, a few things dropped, but for the most part, you're happy still with the termination rate. And I could see that could continue for a little bit. But at some point, it is going to get more and more awkward. You're going to find more and more blocks coming in, more and more algorithms used to find traffic that shouldn't be running, actually affecting the traffic that you have in unregistered, and potentially blocking it or stopping it in some way. And the fact of the matter is, the carriers can turn around, hand on heart, and say, we have a sanctioned path for you to go down. If you have true business traffic and you want to ensure that your customers are getting the traffic, we have a way of you doing it. Does it cost more? Yes. Then it costs more than, it'll cost less than unregistered.
Sure.
Is it painful to do? Is there more things that you have to gather? Is there more information that you need to get? Yes, there is. And it is built on the fact that if you have this information to hand, then you truly already know your customer. So you should be happy to put this information in. If you don't have it and you don't want to go and get it, how well do you know your customer? How well should you be treated if you have little to no idea who your customer is, if they're actually a business, if they actually have a good standing in the business community of sending good and worthwhile traffic? How much should anyone trust you? I mean, in the words of one of the carriers that we deal with, never trust, always verify. And that's what the registry does. We validate and verify information through third-party organizations to ensure that we can, hand on heart, saying we've done these checks, and from what we have seen and what we have checked, these businesses are these businesses. Anyone that is signing any business as an aggregator, as a CSP, as a campaign service provider, you should be doing minimum checks, not just looking at the payout you're going to get, but you should be saying, okay, this company says they're going to do 50,000 messages a month. Great, that's fantastic. Before you sign the contract, it's like, well, has anybody done some sort of background checks on on this company? And there's a lot of people there. And I mean, I'm sure you and I know how it goes. There's a lot of people that don't. They look at the dollar sign at the end and say, how quickly can we get these people onboarded? And that is the kind of scenario where, sure, you can run unregistered.
Right.
But at the end of the day, you should be knowing more about your customer than anybody else. And if you know your customer, the data and information you're gathering is exactly what we need to put into the registry.